Hello, I'm Tim Tuller, Canon for Music of St. John's Cathedral, with a couple of words about the music for this Sunday. This Sunday is Trinity Sunday, and it's another one of those Sundays that usually occur in the spring. The exact date is always set by when Easter falls, so it's comparatively late this year. But it's part of that sort of three-part Ascension Day, Pentecost Sunday, and then the Trinity Sunday following. Those three feast days occur basically 3 weeks in a row. And Trinity Sunday, like Pentecost last week, is a day that is very rich in wonderful music that has developed over the centuries for it in the Episcopal Church and the Anglican Church. And this Sunday, I think the thing that the piece of music that really stands out is the anthem that we're doing. It's entitled "As Truly as God is Our Father," and it's by the 20th century British composer William Matthias. Matthias died in 1992. He was quite prolific. You'll notice his name appearing quite frequently on programs here at St. John's Cathedral and at any church that does traditional Anglican music. And this particular anthem is probably my favorite of the pieces that I know by this composer. Yeah, unlike a lot of his compositions, this piece is much more introspective and, in my opinion, profound. It is a setting of words by Julian of Norwich, and the text is very interesting. It refers to both the masculine and feminine sides of God's nature and how that applies to the Trinity. It's very, very theologically rich and interesting. And the music is absolutely hauntingly beautiful. This piece actually was written, there's a title on the front page that says it was composed at the request of the Friends of St. Paul's Cathedral, that would be St. Paul's Cathedral, London, for their festival, and sung in the presence of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth and the Queen Mother, the patron of the Friends, on the 30th of June, 1987. So that'd be when it was first performed. It's a wonderful piece. The prelude this Sunday is a movement of an organ concerto by George Frederick Handel. Handel wrote a couple dozen organ concertos that he would perform usually himself between movements of his oratorios to give the audience and the singers a little break. And they're just absolutely wonderful little pieces. The originals would have been performed on a little portative organ, which is a little organ that does not have pedals. So Handel's original has no parts for pedals. However, nowadays these pieces are usually heard in transcription for a full modern organ, which can play both the original string parts, the original orchestral parts, and the original organ part basically at the same time. The arrangement I'm playing was done by the 20th century organist Marcel Dupré, who transcribed all of Handel's organ concertos, and they're just absolute little gems. My postlude this Sunday is the last movement of the first organ symphony of Louis Vierne. Vierne he was the organist at Notre Dame Cathedral for the first 30 years of the 20th century, and he wrote 6 massive organ symphonies, and they tend to get progressively more difficult and more difficult for both the performer and the listener as you go through the 6 symphonies. But the last movement particularly of the first is probably his most well-known piece, and certainly the most well-known movement for many of his organ symphonies. It's a very bright, upbeat, fantastic piece that basically takes the traditional form of a French organ toccata, which would be a rapid figuration in the manuals and a thundering, booming melody in the pedals, which you'll hear very clearly from the outset. I hope you enjoy the music this Sunday.